Welcome back to Outside Views Politics 101. Today we're going to talk about two powerful institutions that shape the global economy: the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. These two organizations are often mentioned in the same breath, but they actually serve very different purposes. So let's dive into what each of them does and why they matter. And first, let's start with the World Bank. The World Bank was founded in 1944 alongside the IMF at a conference in Bretton Woods in New Hampshire. Its main goal? To reduce poverty and promote economic development. Now, when you think of a bank, you might think of loans for individuals or businesses. But the World Bank doesn't deal with individuals or companies. Instead, it provides financial and technical assistance to governments of developing countries. It helps these countries build infrastructure like roads, schools, and hospitals, or support large-scale projects like clean water initiatives. The World Bank is made up of two main institutions: the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the IBRD, and the International Development Association, the IDA. The IBRD lends to middle-income countries, while the IDA focuses on the poorest countries. Both institutions provide low-interest loans or grants, and these loans are often aimed at long-term projects that help countries grow their economies and improve living conditions. But there's more to the World Bank than just handing out money. It also provides expertise, data, and advice on economic policies. So if a country wants to improve its education system or boost its healthcare services, the World Bank might step in to help design and implement those programs. And now let's shift to the International Monetary Fund, or IMF. The IMF was created at the same time and at the same Bretton Woods conference as the World Bank. But its mission is different. While the World Bank focuses on development, the IMF is all about ensuring the stability of the global financial system. The IMF's main role is to monitor exchange rates, balance of payments, and international trade to ensure economic stability. Basically, it keeps an eye on the global economy and steps in when a country is facing a financial crisis. If a country is having trouble paying its debts, its currency is crashing, or it's experiencing hyperinflation, the IMF can provide emergency financial assistance. But there's the catch. When the IMF gives out loans, it often requires the country to make economic reforms. And these reforms might include cutting government spending, raising taxes, or opening up the economy to more trade. And these conditions are known as structural adjustment programs. And here's where things can get controversial. Critics argue that the IMF's policies can sometimes do more harm than good. For example, cutting government spending during a crisis can lead to job losses and reduced public services, hitting the poorest people the hardest. But the IMF sees these conditions as necessary to stabilize the economy and prevent future crises. So, to sum up the differences, the World Bank focuses on long-term development projects, helping countries grow their economies and reduce poverty. The IMF, on the other hand, deals with short-term financial stability, stepping in when countries face economic crises. But despite these differences, both institutions are deeply interconnected. Both the World Bank and the IMF have 189 member countries, and these countries contribute to the funds that both institutions use. Each member country gets a vote, but the amount of financial contribution often determines the voting power. This means that wealthier countries like the United States have more influence over the decisions made by both organizations. And now let's talk about some of the criticism these institutions have faced over the years. The World Bank has been criticized for its focus on large infrastructure projects, which some argue can lead to environmental damage or displacement of local communities. In some cases, the benefits of these projects don't always reach the people who need them most. The IMF, as I mentioned earlier, has faced criticism for its structural adjustment programs. Countries that receive IMF loans often have to make deep cuts to public spending, which can hurt healthcare, education, and social services. and critics say that this can worsen inequality and lead to long-term economic problems. Both institutions are also often seen as being dominated by Western countries, particularly the United States and Europe. And this has led to accusations that the World Bank and IMF push policies that benefit wealthy nations at the expense of the poorer ones. However, both the World Bank and IMF have made efforts to address these criticisms. The World Bank has placed more emphasis on sustainable development, ensuring that projects are environmentally and socially responsible. The IMF has also adapted its approach, trying to balance the need for economic reforms with protecting vulnerable populations. But at the end of the day, both institutions still wield enormous influence over the global economy. Their decisions can shape the future of entire nations, and that's why they are so important to understand. When countries get into financial trouble, they often turn to the IMF for help. When they need long-term support for development, they look to the World Bank. So both institutions play a critical role in maintaining global economic stability and promoting growth. But their actions, policies, and influence are constantly debated. So what's your take? Do you think the World Bank and IMF are doing enough to help developing countries? Or do you think they need to change their approach? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching Outside Views Politics 101. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you found this video helpful. See you next time, and the next video is right here in the end screen.